Somebody told me to do this video, so yeah, here we are. YouTube's darkest rabbit hole. Let's see what this info video contains. What? Seems that may be disturbing. Okay. Oh, sound's not on. My bad, y'all. Of course, creepy music. Creepy people. All right.
YouTube is an unusual place. For the past 5 years, tracking down its most disturbed and mysterious content has become an obsession for me. That search has led me down rabbit holes and into pockets of the internet that, for better or worse, and usually for worse if I'm being honest,
I'm gonna be real with y'all. I'm not really into creepy shit. Just like
have left a permanent impact
so y'all
on
might
me.
see me freak out.
But recently, I was asked if any one case stood out
Not that
above
I'm
the
scared.
rest. What was the
Just don't like it.
quote-unquote best of the worst? And I was surprised at how easily an answer came to me. It was a story that started in Fiji, in the back seat of a taxi cab.
Fiji.
Inside, a woman grabs her seatbelt from the top left corner
That's
of her
what Fiji
seat
look
and
like.
pulls
That ain't
down,
Fiji.
waiting to hear a click. But as she does so, her hand brushes against a familiar-feeling object. It was a cell phone, presumably left by the rider before her. For the student, times were tough, and she was just barely making ends meet, so she quietly made the decision to slide the phone into her pocket before the cab driver could notice. Shortly after, she was dropped off at home, where with a mix of nervousness and excitement, she slid the device's lock screen. To her surprise, it was unlocked, and without hesitation, she began to comb through its contents, leading her.
Wait, am I bugging? She just stole that phone? She just stole that phone, right? Am I zoning out?
It was a story that started in Fiji,
My
in the
bad,
back
y'all.
seat
I'm trying to
of
pay
a taxi
attention.
cab.
I'm gonna shut up. Fiji taxi cab.
Inside, a woman grabs her seatbelt from the top left corner of her seat and pulls down, waiting to hear a click. But as she does so, her hand brushes against a familiar-feeling object. It was a cell phone, presumably
Okay, so yeah,
making
she
ends
just stole
meet.
that phone. All right.
Shortly after, screen. To her surprise, it was unlocked, and without hesitation, she began to comb through its contents, leading her first to the phone's camera roll, where she found what looked to be a peaceful video of the ocean,
She was looking for
eagerly
freaky
pressing play to
things.
see what secrets the clip might hold.
Bro,
Over the course of the next 10 minutes and 26 seconds, she would witness perhaps the
Bro.
most gruesome video she had ever laid eyes on.
this better not be
The
no
images
jump
burning
scare
into
shit,
her
bro.
mind, frame
I'm
by
not
frame,
doing- nah, I don't
never
wanna
to
do
be
no jump
forgotten.
scare shit.
The following day, she would upload the same video to YouTube, marking the start of an internet mystery whose trail was as vast as the ocean itself, and whose contents immediately made it one of the most mysterious videos to ever appear on YouTube.
What the fuck is going on?
Before we dive deeper into this rabbit hole, I want to first thank today's so
No.
while you're waiting.
What does that have to do
PDS
with
debt.
this?
This has led to them that opens with a shot of 7.
Is this like
The
some
video went live on
Cloverfield shit?
August
Something gonna
17,
come out the water and be
2014
weird?
on an unknown channel called Common King Savu. It opens with a shot of the ocean, filmed with what appears to be the grainy camera of an old cell phone.
Bro, I feel like
We see
something
ships
crazy
floating and
weird
hear
about
the
to
voices of
happen.
men yelling in various languages, later to be decoded.
Just so y'all know, I probably shouldn't even tell y'all this, but I don't like open water. Like I don't do cruises and boats. I could do the beach. I don't have no problem with the ocean. In that sense, I'll go fishing, I'll go on the lake, but I don't like being like that in open water where you just can't see nothing. You just in the middle of nowhere. That shit creeps me out just by itself. You know what kind of shit is it?
Coded as Mandarin, Vietnamese, and potentially even Taiwanese.
What language do they speak in Fiji for real? Yep, y'all gonna have to deal with my tangents because that's what I do. What language do they speak in Fiji? Languages of Fiji. Fiji has 3 official languages under the 1990s. So English, Fijian, and Fiji Hindi. So they speak in all non-Fiji languages. Copy. Got that. All right, let's go. See,
And while
education.
translating their
It's good
words
to
is
know.
difficult, their sentiment is easy to understand. Something had grabbed the men's attention. Something in the water. The camera pans around as if it's looking for that something, while showing the vast, deep blue waters surrounding their ship. They were in the middle of nowhere, clearly miles and miles away from any sign of humanity. Suddenly, the commotion intensifies as the cameraman makes a dash for the opposite side of the ship, as finally he
Oh, the
sees
cameraman.
it.
I thought the cameraman was on shore.
How are you?
It was a man, warily treading water.
Oh,
The cameraman yells to him in English, "How are you?" To which the swimmer
How
raises
are
his
you?
hands, signifying his desperate need for help. It started to become clear that this
Help
video
him.
was going to be of some sort of rescue attempt. Somehow that man had ended up in the water and clearly needed to be saved, and this far out at sea,
There's
it
mad
seemed to be
boats
a
out
miracle
there.
that these
Hold 'em
ships had
down.
reached him in time. But within this clip, nothing is what it seems, as rather than a life preserver being tossed to the man or maybe even a rope getting thrown his way, a gunshot rings out. A shot aimed directly at the man in the water. The shot misses just inches above his head, only to be followed by another shot and another, until
Whoa.
finally the fourth try connects, the bullet piercing the man's head and turning the sea around him an unnatural shade of red.
Nah.
He was dead in an instant,
Nah,
though
bro.
the recording
This is
kept
freaking me out
going,
already.
and so did the gunshots.
Yo, what am I watching right now? How is this on YouTube? This music is crazy. Yo, what am I looking at?
The camera pans across the waves, now revealing two more men in the water, clinging to what appears to be the wreckage of their boat. A boat that somehow had been destroyed. And before long, one of them was struck too, leaving the other man hanging onto the debris as he silently watches his friend's body float lifelessly past him. He held on for nearly 4 minutes, not saying a word, not fighting back, just
Bro, this is literally a nightmare for me, bro. What the fuck? Being stranded in the middle of it and people are shooting at you. Yo, this is actually terrifying. Like, I don't think you understand. This is actually terrifying. Hell no.
just holding on, until finally, he too was executed.
Yo.
Understandably, the ordeal proved too much for the cameraman to handle, as at this point he just couldn't control an outburst. But not in any sort of emotional way that one might expect, as instead,
Yo, he's
couldn't
laughing?
hold back his laughter.
Yo, what the
Even as a fourth swimmer was found and also executed, the laughs and the cheers from the people on board just kept on coming.
Hello.
Yo, this sound like... Yo, this sound like just like regular old people. What is happening right now in this video, bro? Like, I'm usually on it when it comes to these whatever. I'm completely at a loss right now. What the fuck? What is going on?
There was no sign of remorse for the killings, only celebration. And at the end of the video, the crew even posed for photos.
Yo, what?
Some of them joining arms together while others took selfies, with those listless bodies floating in the background. Over the course of the clip, 63 shots had been fired at 4 men in the ocean,
Nah, bro.
none of whom survived the encounter.
This got me right now. What?
The video would be kept
What
on
is
YouTube
life?
for only 3 days under the title Fishing Vessel Fijian Crew Getting Shots Outside Fiji Waters, providing the first
that
and
shit was
really
on
the only bit of context for the clip, as when people began to dig deeper to find out what exactly they had just watched,
Yo, for
they
real?
found something unusual.
Oh my.
They found nothing. There was no other information about the event. There was no news articles. There were no police reports. There was quite literally nothing. This video was seemingly the first ever mention of this incident on the internet. Now, this might make sense
else
if it had
gonna mention
happened in
it?
the days surrounding the upload, but when digging into the video's metadata, it was revealed that not only was this not true, but that the video had actually been filmed a whole 2 years prior, in 2012. Meaning that for 2 full years, whatever this event was, went unseen and unreported.
Bro.
Given its alleged
who are these
Fijian ties,
people?
their government would be the first to investigate, in a process that only took about a day, as they immediately determined that the fishermen seen in this footage were not actually Fijian, and nor were the shooters. In fact, the waters didn't even match theirs either.
I was just about to say, how do they know it was Fiji? Just because the phone was found there, that person could be, somebody's traveling. You see, you just don't know with people, bro. You could be literally next to somebody and they could be traveling around and they phone, they got some crazy shit like this. Whether that person was the one who recorded it or not, somewhere somebody recording that got shit like that in their phone. Like, that's sick, bro.
So, with the
This shit
video
is
having
making
no
me sick
ties
to
to
my
their
stomach, for
country,
real. This
they
shit make me
immediately dropped the
uncomfortable.
case. For any others trying to find more
That's
information,
horrible, bro.
things were bleak, as they had no idea where the incident took place, who the victims were, who the shooters were, the identity of the ships, or even the motivation behind the killings. They tried to find out who these victims were by searching every single accessible missing persons database from all across the world. They then tried to find cases of missing ships or reports of shootings at sea, only to reach the same result. Despite seeing it with our own eyes, it was as if these killings never even happened. With intrigue building around the clip, a few larger news agencies would pick up the story, most of them admitting that they too couldn't find any noteworthy information on anything involving the case. And with the facts nearly impossible to come by, they instead focused on the more human questions surrounding the ordeal. Why? What had motivated the men on this ship to open fire on these helpless people? And given the media climate at the time, a reason was quickly brought forward.
These are the pirates of Somalia, holding the world's shipping industry to ransom.
U.S. officials say they are working with other countries to deal with the lawlessness they say is the root cause of the piracy.
We have to ensure that those who commit acts of piracy are held accountable.
The high seas are often a lawless place, and of all the criminal groups that can be found at sea, by far the most notorious at this time were Somali pirates, with it quickly being assumed that the men seen in the water were just that. Pirates that had planned to overthrow the ship, yet were somehow stopped, leading to their slow-motion execution. This honestly explains a lot, like why the crime was never reported and why the crew seemed to be celebrating their killing.
Okay. So they saying those were the pilots. I don't know if I'm jacking that story just yet. I don't know. This is a hard one for me. This shit make me sick to my stomach. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, this shit is. I done did a few of these true crime murder things and I seen some. But this shit, to me, this shit is like, that's a horrible way to fucking, your body just sinking.
As after all, this would mean that they had just survived a pirate attack from a group that likely would have done much worse to them. Because of these reports, the discourse surrounding the footage quickly went from shock to, in many instances, support. With one user writing, "Kill those fucking pirates. They would not hesitate to kill you if they had the chance. How does it feel? You fucking scums?"
Wow.
And while not everyone held such strong emotions, for most it was settled. This was a case of self-defense, albeit a heartless one.
That's still.
So as the clip began to slip from the headlines, questions
like, I get it if it's self-defense, but dumb niggas are still kind of ruthless to be laughing and celebrating like that. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Not saying I got like ops out there crazy, but I think I would still feel a way if I had to do that to some people, man. Especially in that manner. That's crazy.
Began to arise.
I don't know if
That for a select few weren't so easy to ignore. For starters, in the footage we see 4 large boats in the area, which would make one wonder why such a small pirate group would choose to attack a ship that had reinforcements literally right next to it. It almost seemed like a suicide mission. And on top of this, through the debris you can clearly see that the boat was wooden, with it later being identified as a dhow, a slow-moving fishing vessel almost exclusively used in Arab countries. Given its speed and fragile wooden structure, this would likely be the last choice for many pirates. So not only did this not make sense from an attack standpoint, but the country of origin of this boat seemingly didn't match either. And to make this even stranger, the boat clearly had a flag attached to it, and though it couldn't be definitively identified, flying the flag of a country is almost unheard of for Somali pirates. It's safe to say that the pirate theory wasn't as concrete as many had assumed, and this only becomes more evident the further we dig into the video, with one of the most glaring discrepancies being the demeanor of the crew.
Yeah, they didn't seem like they were scared of something happening. Whoever they was about that action.
It's obvious that they weren't fearing for their lives at all during this attack. In fact, their words show just how much they were enjoying it, with some people even shouting for the camera to get a better angle and encouraging the gunmen to keep shooting.
Bro,
and perhaps even more importantly,
ruthless,
at no point do we see any weapons or any form of retaliation from the men floating in the water. It didn't look or sound like a fight. It appears more as a straight-up attack. And most chillingly of all, one of the swimmers can faintly be heard yelling, "No Somali, no pirate."
Oh.
Become a cybersecurity professional
yelling no
in
Somali,
less than a
no
year.
pirate.
Our live
Now,
virtual
see, my
classes
stomach's
take
turning
place in the
again.
evenings.
Bro, this could, yo, bro, just
Despite these
give it up
glaring
to God,
gaps,
man, 'cause
years
some
would
people
pass
got
following the
crazy
video's
shit going on.
upload, with little in the way of new reported information. However, there were a select few who made it their mission to uncover the truth behind the footage, one sliver at a time. Most notably, a private investigator named Karsten von Hoslin picked up the case and documented his journey on a show called Lawless Oceans. He started his investigation by pinpointing the ships seen in the footage, identifying them as the Chunyi 217, the Chunyi 628, the Lao Yuan U-99, and finally, the Pingshin 101, the boat that pulled the
all over
trigger.
the place.
These ships were all tuna longliners operating out of Taiwan, where fishing is one of their economy's biggest industries. But what makes Taiwanese fishing so unique is that their ships operate almost exclusively in international waters, where unlawful activity runs rampant. This includes illegal fishing, long work hours for employees, abuse, and in some cases, even murder. As on the high seas, far away from the watchful eye.
See, I can't, yo, not only in the ocean, you got to deal with lawlessness, you got to deal with crazy, unpredictable weather, you got to deal with sea creatures out the ass. Come on, man.
Eyes
I'm
of the
good.
law,
I'm staying on land,
you can get away with almost anything, which explains why this crime had gone undetected for so long. And with the Pingshin 101 being the unquestioned killer, that's where the investigation would quickly be focused.
I don't know where this story gonna go.
The history of this boat reveals a few interesting notes. For starters, it was issued an international yellow card for aggressive behavior years before, though nothing is really known about the
Wait, they do this like football, like soccer, an international yellow card for aggression for a vessel? This is the first time I ever heard of this.
incident that led to
That's
this
crazy.
decision.
Learn something new
But
every
what
day.
we do know is that in 2010, the ship had made an insurance claim, citing that it collided with a smaller vessel, causing some minor damages. And though the captain claimed that this was an accident,
They killed them and wrote it off as an insurance claim when they shot them. They just said, yo, we hit a boat.
footage said otherwise.
What is happening right now?
Somehow, this exact same incident just so happened to be captured by a man sailing aboard the Pingshin 101. The footage shows the longliner aggressively pursuing a smaller fishing boat, while the crew aboard laughs and cheers on, just as they did in the other video.
Yeah. Suzo.
Only this time, they aren't the only aggressors, as we can see 3 other ships joining in as well. The exact same 3 ships shown in that original video.
This is
Eventually, the Pingshin rams the vessel, causing it to
I
break
want
down
smoke now.
before
I'm
the
starting
video
to get
ends
tight.
abruptly. It's unknown what happened to the ship from here, however, many have posited that its crew was met with the same fate as the other victims
Nah,
of
this
the
is getting
Pingshin
tight
101.
now. These niggas just put, yo.
Much like
Nah,
the
this
sea
is making
slaughter
me tight,
video,
bro.
it's unknown why the ship was even attacked to begin with. This clearly wasn't a Somali boat. And again, at no point did we see any sort of weapon or any sort of combativeness coming
Yo,
from
I
that
don't
ship.
like, I don't like bullies and shit and shit like you kill you, bro. Shit like this really get me tight, bro. Like,
Seemed to
shit
be
really
simply
tight.
another fishing vessel. But what else is so intriguing about this video is that the fleet of ships were equally as involved, actively working to corral and trap the boat. And given their proximity to the murdered swimmers in the first video, perhaps they were all involved in that slaying too, almost as if these ships were part of a gang, with the Pingshin 101 as its leader. With all these discoveries, finding this ship was going to be the key to the
Pingshin niggas gotta
investigation,
go, bro.
as having documented its aggressive history, finding it became everything for investigators. But whereas the search for information had thus far been difficult, the search for the Pingshin 101 was impossible.
Wow, we coming to find you, Pingshin. We want that
In
smoke.
July of 2014, a cargo ship sailing in the Indian Ocean named the Sam Tiger received an SOS call from a nearby ship.
Nah,
When they
I
arrived
wanna
on
see the
scene,
Pingshin
they
get
saw
smoked,
the
bro.
Pingshin 101
Get
on
me
fire and sinking alone in the ocean. Upon the crew's rescue, it was stated that there had been some sort of explosion on board, and that the engine room had been completely flooded, causing the ship to go down, leaving it burned to a crisp at the bottom of the ocean, just months before the video would be exposed to the public. The ship and all of the evidence that it might hold were gone, and gone under suspicious circumstances as well. Allegedly, when asked about what happened that night, fishermen on board gave varying testimonies that didn't seem to line up, with no one being able to offer any sort of cause for the explosion, and some stating that they didn't even hear an explosion as well. With the story of the flooded engine room seeming off too, considering that it had a watertight door that could have easily been closed, thus stopping the sinking. Today, multiple ship experts who have reviewed the case believe that the ship was sunk intentionally, but whether this was for insurance purposes or to conceal some sort of evidence is unknown, but the timing of it all might hint at the latter. As crushing as this was for the investigation, there still was hope, as even though the ship was no longer around, the crew certainly was.
Round them up, bro.
Their identities were found after a few had posted images of themselves onto Facebook aboard the Ping Shin.
Yo, what kind of times are we in? You guys are Ping Shing fucking, what are you, I don't know. I don't even think what are they? Just aggressive assholes? Y'all shooting, killing people, got videos on your phone. Y'all putting pictures on Facebook with your what? Yeah, bro. And you see, they say things about like people in the hood and these drill rappers and everything. Like, look at these guys. Like, the fuck? This is stupid. Not that I don't want them to get caught, but...
And after reaching out to many of these crew members, the investigator Karsten van Hoslin found a few who were actually willing to speak with him. And so, individually, they would be asked about the murders at sea, and one by one, they began to recount their experiences. Only, as they began to talk, there was something strange about their story, something that didn't match the video at all. It was the time of day, with each of the men noting that the killings had taken place at nighttime, and that it was completely dark out when the shootings occurred. This made no sense to the investigator until he realized something. The story that they were sharing was not the one portrayed in this video, and instead, it was an entirely different killing.
They've been doing this
and one
shit.
that was far, far more gruesome.
Yo, bro. How many bodies did they... Yo, bro, this shit...
It happened that very same year, in 2012, not even a week before the events seen in the video. With this incident, no cameras were rolling.
You know, like, people's families and shit, bro. Like, that's people's families and shit, bro. They probably don't even know what happened to them. That's... Yo.
Instead, the story...
I should have never... Who recommended... I should have never watched this shit, bro. Still not going on the ocean anyway. But this just makes me tight. Like, I just want to fight now. Like, somebody got to pay, bro. Like... Do y'all, like, can't even think of a proper punishment for people doing shit like this. But I'm going to let them speak their piece, guys.
Only lives through the accounts of the deckhands who watched it all transpire. It was the dead of night, as the Ping Shin 101 floated across the waters of the Indian Ocean, accompanied by 3 other ships in its group. As the sailors finally settled in for a precious few hours of sleep, the quiet of the night was shattered by the captain yelling across the intercom. There was a ship approaching on the horizon, and according to the captain, that ship was carrying pirates. The men knew what this meant as they scrambled to get dressed and headed to the deck, where the group of 4 boats had already begun their offensive measures. Yet, as they watched on, they saw that the ship was silent. It wasn't provoking in any way, and rather was minding its own business.
Okay.
Appearing to be on none other than a standard fishing expedition. On its dimly lit deck, a group of men could be seen standing watch, and none of them were armed. Then, noticing that they were in danger, the ship attempted to turn and flee, but it was too late. They had already been labeled a threat by merely being in this fleet's eyeline. Quickly, the Ping Shin 101...
What do you mean you labeled a threat by being in a eyeline? What are y'all, some kind of wild animals? Like, what is going on here, man? Because I'm still not fully good. Like, are they, I guess they're fishermen, I'm guessing? Are they just freaking assholes at this point?
One caught up with the vessel and struck its side, causing the boat to split in half and throwing its occupants into the dark waters. The light on board flickered, then shut off, covering the wreckage in a blanket of black, leaving nothing but the sound of splashing, yelling, and the faint putter of their engines. That is, until the water turns bright, as a powerful spotlight on board the Ping Shin beams into the sea, illuminating one swimmer struggling in the water.
And they probably shot him.
The captain calls over his armed security guard and gives the order to open fire. The guard looks back nervously, explaining that he would need to contact his officers at home and get approval to shoot this man, given that the swimmer was not fighting back and had not acted aggressively in the first place. However, to the captain, this didn't matter, and he insisted that the guard open fire anyway. And so, with shaky hands, he raised his weapon and pointed it towards the helpless man, only to pause when he heard a faint cry. It was the supposed pirate in his sights, speaking a language that the Arab security guard knew, and just like the incident that started it all, the swimmer yells, "No, Somali." In that moment, the realization set in that they had just attacked an innocent fishing vessel, causing the guard to immediately lower his weapon, only for it to be ripped from his hands by the captain. His mind was already made up, and so he took aim and fired the gun himself, opening up the door to carnage.
This shit making me sick to
That
my
night,
stomach,
the
bro.
Ping Shin 101 and its surrounding boats would use their spotlights to scan the water for the rest of the ship's occupants, and every time they
That's
found
just
one,
evil,
they
bro.
would be shot on sight.
That's just evil. They
Scan, shoot, scan, shoot, over and over again. This went on all night,
How many people?
and by the morning, the crew had witnessed the drawn-out execution of approximately 22 men.
Hey there, I want to give you a job in IT. That's right, making
22?
10,000 or more a month,
Yo,
working
that's
remotely.
yo, it's
Does that
heartless,
sound
yo.
nice?
This stuff like this make me feel like
The stories from these
yeah,
crew
hell's-
members
hell's
added a
real.
whole new layer to this case.
'Cause you
These ships were
can't-
targeting
you gotta-
innocent fishing boats and slaughtering people at sea for essentially no reason at all.
ain't
And
enough
somehow,
ain't enough life in life to repay these people for shit like this, bro. Innocent people who got families, you know what I'm saying? Like killed for one, and then in this manner in the dark in the ocean somewhere, bodies just like that is horrible to think. You live your life to a certain point and then that's how it's gonna end. And off of some shit like this, like you wasn't even doing nothing wrong.
all of this information had never once reached the public and only came to light as a result of a single YouTube video. And the discoveries didn't stop there.
W to whoever posted that video up, even though I don't know what your intentions was, but yo,
As investigators were combing through the net for details on the Ping Shin, they found another video.
uh-oh.
A video depicting the very same slaughter as that original incident. Only this recording was taken from one of the nearby ships.
They was all recording that shit. Who put up the other video though? Reckless.
The clip shows exactly what was missing from that initial footage, the build-up to the men ending up in the water, as we can see the dhow still intact and being chased down by the fleet. No weapons are ever used by the victims even as their ship begins to break down, which in turn forces them to jump into the water, where the executions begin.
Bro.
But that's not the only thing this footage shows, as this angle gives us a better idea of the scope of these murders. It wasn't just 4 men that went into the water. No, in the footage you can see many, many more, their heads bobbing up and down as they await the end of their lives. And though it's hard to tell for sure, it appears that the number of victims was at least triple what we initially believed, with 12 people ending up in the water. A number corroborated by the crew themselves during questioning, who stated that all the shootings were done by either their captain, the armed guards, or even the other ships. In only a week's time, this fleet had killed upwards of 35 innocent people with their merciless attacks. And given the ship's history of violence and its seemingly crazed captain, there's no telling how many others they had taken too.
All of them, bro.
With so many players involved in this situation, it's hard to pin the blame on any one person.
And the fact they sitting there recording it, laughing it. Yo, these niggas just, yo. I don't know why this is getting me. I do know why this. I don't like shit like this.
For these killings, everybody aboard all had a hand in it. But it makes the most sense to start at the top, with the leader of the fleet and the captain of the Pingshin 101. And given the accounts of the crew members, his identity would finally be revealed.
Yo, find that nigga. Who is he? Yeah, who this?
His name is Captain Wang Feng Yu.
I ain't gonna lie. Wang Feng Yu is kind of a gangsta ass name. He sound like he probably really about that, but I will fuck Wang Feng Yu up for this. This is crazy. What is your problem?
Or as he was more commonly called on the high seas, Captain Hoodlum.
Captain Hoodlum is kind of corny. It is kind of Captain Hoodlum. That's like some generic. That's like Captain Hoodlum. Like who the? You was better off being what's his name? What's his name? Wang Feng Yu, nigga. Wang Feng Yu. Captain Hoodlum. I don't remember no Captain Hoodlum.
Or as he was more commonly called on the high seas, Captain Hoodlum.
I ain't gonna lie. If you Captain Hoodlum, you probably gotta put in a lot of work because you sound like you doing too much. Like you overcompensating Captain Hoodlum. Like.
According to his crew, this captain was an angry man. Crazy even, who made his points by hitting and beating, choosing violence above anything else, which was perhaps done to make up for his inexperience.
This guy hitting and beating? If I'm on the ship with this guy, he's not hitting and beating me. He's finished. One of us gotta go, and I'm not letting him beat me on a boat.
As a captain, given that he was only 35 years old.
35 years old, boy, knuckle up, bro. You can't, like, I'll be cool, make sure he put that thing down, but I'm a square up. I'm gonna challenge him. And is that something they can do? Is that a real thing? I think I seen that in a movie. I'm gonna challenge him for his captain spot and take him out. Come on, he wildin'. I don't fuck with
Which was considered very young for that role. The revelation of his identity led to him being tracked down and questioned for his crimes, which he gave a reason for each and every attack, proclaiming that these ships were pirates and that they were threatening him, even stating that one of the men
That's not him. Go back to him. That's not him. That is not him. He looked like, where they from? Taiwan? I think they Taiwanese. He looked like a Taiwanese Bobby Hill from King of the Hill. There's no way. He's doing that to, yo, this world is a crazy place. He's just murdering people all over the ocean, and y'all worried about Somali pirates and all this. That guy right there. At least some of the Somali pirates be looking like, you might not want to fuck with them. They look like they kind of him. Boy, I'm washing him.
Questioned for his crimes, to which he gave a reason for each and every attack, proclaiming that these ships were pirates and that they were threatening him, even stating that one of the men had tried to board their ship on the day of that infamous slaughter.
Making excuses,
but
man.
upon further questioning, his defense fell apart. His actions were impossible to defend, and whether he even knew it or not, he was responsible for the deaths of countless innocent men, including many by his own hand. As a result, Wang Feng Yu was put on trial for his crimes committed in international waters, which is considered extremely rare for cases like this, with the Taiwanese government charging him for the 4 murders shown in the video, as these were the only ones that they could verify, due to the other story having literally no record of having even happened.
But like the people who, are they like, they should be missing people reports or something of like fishermen, I guess, I don't know, from their countries, I guess, I don't know, but somebody should find out like they missing. They should know who some of the other people are, even still, because that's crazy. Like, you think your family member's just missing, and it's, bro, I want to beat the brakes off
was
of that
sentenced to
dude.
26 years in prison, which after an appeal would be reduced to just 13. Of all the other ships and men involved, no others would be charged along with him, making this the only form of justice to come from the deaths of all these men,
It's something.
supposedly mistaken for pirates.
It's something. I don't know. I don't like this one.
But as the case now winds down to a close, and we near the end of this rabbit hole, We're still left to wonder about those victims. If not pirates, then who were they?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, this was actually something explored on the Lawless Ocean show, with the investigation taking them all the way to a little-known port in Iran called Konarak. There, Van Hosen managed to track down records of 2 ships that had been lost to sea in 2012, that had just so happened to match the description of the ones that the Pink Shin and their group had attacked.
Okay, that's cool.
But despite their disappearances, they were never mentioned to law enforcement, and they were never mentioned across any sort of media outlets, even the local ones. Which actually makes sense, as when you start to dig into the background of these boats, it becomes clear that they weren't just fishing, and rather they were more than likely carrying drugs. As it turns out, it was commonplace for vessels like this in that area to carry with them supplies of heroin that they would then transport across the ocean. And what makes this so crazy is that when you watch the first video back, you can see little packages floating in the water that appear almost exactly like large bags of heroin. As a result, these ships were likely trying to be extra covert and not draw any sort of attention, as getting in an altercation could easily end up with their dark secret being exposed.
Alright, I mean, they might have been international drug dealers, which I'm not really for that. Not for international drugs. But I don't know if that warrants that. And I don't think he did it for no type of, like, moralistic reasons. He just seemed like a nut. It just seemed like some questionable dudes doing a questionable job running into a psychopath. I don't like it. I don't like it either way, but I'm still not happy with of course I'm not happy with the murder, but I'm still not good with it, bro. Like, nah, bro. Lock the drug guys up, man, everybody getting locked up, man.
Meaning that there was likely no way that they were threatening the Pink Shin or any of the vessels seen in this group. It just wouldn't make any sense.
It's crazy though, if you're doing like international drug running, you would, like, somebody probably should have a weapon maybe or some type of defense, even if, like, because somebody might try to get the drop on you if they know you running drugs. Why would you not? You in international waters, man. Bring something. I don't know, that's weird.
However, within this context, it's hard to describe these people as being completely innocent. But did this really warrant such a brutal execution?
No.
And it's important to note too that the murderous fleet almost certainly didn't expect them to be drug carriers. And given that the Pink Shin and its fleet had no ties to the drug world, it's apparent that these drugs had nothing to do with the killings. It was just a strange coincidence, leaving us still without a true motive. Following this lead, Van Hosen visited a nearby village where many of the fallen crew members' families were living, and there they discovered innumerable people missing their fathers, husbands, children, all of whom had gone to sea never to return. While in truth, these families had no idea just how savagely their loved ones had been killed. Though this discovery makes the case a bit more morally murky, it at least provides an answer to one of the most glaring questions of who these victims were. As though they were never named specifically, it's clear now at least where they came from.
I ain't gonna lie, I was gonna play Call of Duty. I don't even want to play Call of Duty.
The rabbit hole this video carries with it is almost unimaginable. Imagine if we had just accepted the theory that this was an isolated pirate attack. We would never have known the true story behind this fleet, and the true number of their victims. And justice would have never been served, even if said justice wasn't as satisfying as many had hoped. But of all the twists and turns of this case, there was somehow one more that remained. As oddly enough, the entire story of this video making its way onto YouTube didn't exactly happen as it was first described. We started this case with the story of the video's uploader discovering the clip on a cell phone found in a taxi cab in Fiji. But she would actually later go on to retract this claim once investigators questioned her further. Instead, she had stated that she had been sent the footage by someone else and felt compelled to share it with the world, to warn others of what was really happening out there on the high seas. She even claimed that she knew it would be...
Okay, so she did knew what was going on. Like I said earlier, if she, that was good for her. So, shout out to her for being brave and actually posting it, because you're dealing with murderers. You could have got murdered. Somebody know that the footage was sent to you. But good story, good cover-up.
Potentially dangerous posting this video, not only for her, but for the anonymous person she sent it to. And so, she made up the story to essentially absolve them from any involvement. This means that the clip wasn't found on the cell phone of whoever had recorded it, and instead, it had been circulating. What makes this even more fascinating is that this allowed investigators to track down where the video actually came from, or at least how it had gotten to the island of Fiji, and how it had gotten to this phone in particular. And when doing so, all roads led them to a man who had been an avid collector and possibly distributor of so-called snuff films.
Wow.
And within his devices, these investigators found hundreds of other disturbing videos of brutal killings.
Yo, you see, you never know. Yo, people, I don't like watching videos like this because it just shows you how sick the world could really be out there, bro. Like, a collector of snuff films that's crazy, bro. Like, and these people might be anywhere. They could be in your neighborhood. It's not like these people are just places where you'll never be or never see them. They're really walking around. But I also like the fact that these things get out because people need to know, man. This is real life. People need to know this wild shit's going on, man.
Making it almost certain that this video was originally sold as a snuff film, and even bringing up the question of whether or not these killings had been done for that sole purpose. This actually lines up quite well with how the men were acting in the video, gloating for the camera and directing the cameraman on where to go, yelling at him to film it all. And given that we don't really have a solid motive for this event, perhaps it was done for this video specifically, as after all, these workers at sea are notoriously underpaid, and so a video like this would be worth much more than anyone on board was used to making. This is, however, impossible to prove, and though it may have played a role in what was happening that day, it seems more conclusive to say that this was a case of a crazed captain who likely just had a crippling fear of pirates, with this paranoia leading to him being overprotective of his ship and the fleet around him. With this behavior leading to the incidents that, had it not been for a single YouTube video, would have basically never happened, existing instead only as Fisherman's Tale. And I have to wonder if this could be the case for even more incidents out there at sea, not only for the Pink Shin 101 and its fleet, but across the entire high seas.
I'm sure.
How many more killings have...
I'm sure they wasn't the first and not the last. That's the crazy part. And this has nothing to do with pirates or piracy. I know they out there giving pirates a bad name. I don't know if they're really giving pirates a bad name or pirates really be wilding, but you know, on TV they make pirates seem kind of cool. You know what I'm saying? But just messing around. But like outside of pirates, man, there's other stuff going on. There's other people. They just out there murdering. They're not even stealing nothing. They didn't even take the drugs. I don't know if that would have made it much better for me, but it would have made it a little better if they was like competing drug lords and they took the drug. Like this is just sick.
Gone unnoticed. Killings that we'll likely never know about until the next gruesome video finds its way to our screens.
You know, no, I'm good on these. Don't send me no more.
I want to give a massive thank you to a few people. Firstly, Nexpo for jumping on this video. You guys definitely already know this, but he has an amazing channel. And if you don't, definitely go check it out. And him and I actually have a ghost hunting channel that we do on the side where we go on all sorts of crazy adventures. So if you guys want to check it out, definitely
I don't want to watch.
Give it a watch.
I don't want to watch any more of these. And now I kind of feel like I need to watch something. I don't even know. I don't even know what to do with myself right now. That freaked me out.